you know the feeling. You've studied English for years, you know a huge range of vocabulary, and you can read a fairly complex article without much trouble at all. But the moment you turn on a podcast, click play on a YouTube video, or sit in a room with two native speakers talking casually, everything suddenly falls apart. They start talking, and instead of hearing clear, distinct, separate words, you hear this massive, blurry rush of sound. It genuinely feels like they're speaking at 300 miles an hour. You manage to catch a word at the beginning of a sentence, maybe one at the end, and everything in between just sounds like a foreign language buried inside another foreign language. You walk away feeling completely defeated, thinking, I just need to learn more vocabulary, or my brain is simply too slow to keep up with fast English. But here's the truth. Native speakers usually aren't actually talking as fast as it feels. And the real issue isn't your vocabulary at all. The real issue is a hidden feature of spoken language called connected speech. In school, most of us were taught what we can call textbook English, where every single word sits neatly on its own, like a perfect, isolated island, clearly separated from the words around it. But out in the real world, spoken English behaves more like a river. Words don't sit quietly next to each other. They crash into one another, blend together, and completely reshape themselves, all in the name of saving time and physical effort. If your brain has been trained to listen for clean, isolated textbook words, connected speech will quietly wreck your listening comprehension, no matter how strong your vocabulary actually is. Today, we're going to expose exactly how common blended words like gonna, wanna, and wadia actually form, walk through a genuinely practical listening drill designed to retrain your ears, and finish with an active transcription exercise that builds real, lasting comprehension for real-world audio. Let's start by uncovering the hidden code behind spoken English. To understand why real English sounds so messy compared to a textbook, we need to look at the shortcuts native speakers naturally take to keep their speech flowing smoothly. Their mouths automatically follow the path of least resistance. Instead of cleanly stopping the airflow between each word, they let sounds smash directly into one another. Let's walk through 3 classic examples that completely transform how ordinary sentences actually sound out loud. First, let's look at how gonna and wanna are born, through a process involving reduction and blending. In a textbook, you learn the future structure, I am going to buy a coffee. If you tried to pronounce every single syllable clearly and separately, your tongue would need to change direction constantly, over and over, sentence after sentence. To save energy, native speakers reduce the vowel sounds and quietly drop the harder consonants. Going to loses its T sound and compresses down into gonna. Want to drops its sharp T sound and transforms into wanna. So instead of, I want to ask you a question, in real conversation it becomes, I want to ask you a question. Second, let's look at the mystery behind wadia, and this one genuinely trips up a lot of intermediate learners. Imagine someone walks up to you and asks, what do you want to do? In real spoken English, the phrase what do you undergoes a pretty dramatic structural collapse. The T sound in what meets the D sound in do, and together they blend into a soft, quick flap sound. The word you gets reduced down to a simple ya sound, and that entire 4-word phrase collapses into a single 3-syllable chunk wadia. So instead of what do you think about it, in real speech it becomes what do you think about it. There are plenty of other hidden combinations that follow this exact same pattern. Got to becomes gotta, as in I've gotta go now. Could've becomes coulda, as in I coulda told you that. Give me becomes gimme, as in give me a second. If your ears are still actively listening for 4 separate distinct words, W-H-A-T, then D-O, then Y-O-U, your brain will end up missing the entire sentence while it's still searching for a clean starting point that doesn't actually exist in real speech. You need to stop listening for individual letters or isolated words, and instead start recognizing these unified sound blocks as single units. So now that you know these blended sounds genuinely exist, the next step is training your brain to recognize them instantly, without pausing to mentally translate them back into their formal textbook grammar. This is where a technique called the sound block drill comes in. Instead of treating a sentence like a chain of 6 or 7 separate individual links, you train your ears to hear it as 2 or 3 solid chunks of sound instead. Let's walk through a live example together right now. Take the sentence. What do you want to do with the data? If you try to process that sentence word by word, your brain has to work through 9 separate individual steps, which is far too much processing to keep up with during a fast, natural conversation. Instead, let's break it down into 3 clean sound blocks. The first block is the question starter. We take what do you want to and compress it using the natural shortcuts we just covered. It becomes wadya wanna. The second block is the core action. We take do with thee and let the words blend smoothly together into something like do with thee. The third block is simply the object. The clear noun sitting at the end, data. Put all three blocks together, and you're no longer really saying 9 separate words. You're saying 3 quick, rhythmic beats. Wadya wanna, do with, data. To practice this drill yourself, grab any short line of dialogue from a video or a podcast you enjoy. Instead of writing the words down using their standard, correct spelling, try writing them down phonetically, exactly the way they actually sound once they're blended together in real speech. Read your phonetic version out loud, 3 separate times, trying to match the rhythm and speed of the original speaker as closely as possible. By physically forcing your own mouth to make these same connections, you're training your brain's audio processing system to expect these exact sounds ahead of time, which quietly strips away that overwhelming illusion of speed. To really bridge the gap between textbook grammar and real, live connected speech for good, your ears need a genuine active workout, something we can call the context transcription test. Find a short, unscripted English video, maybe a raw interview, or a casual vlog, and pull up a section that's only about 15 to 30 seconds long. Then follow this 3-step process. Step 1 is the blind script. Listen to that 30-second clip with subtitles turned completely off. Grab a pen and paper, and try your best to write down exactly what you hear the speaker saying. Whenever you hit a messy, blurry section where the words seem to melt together, just write down the raw sounds as best you can. Even if what you're writing doesn't look like proper, correctly spelled English at all. Step 2 is the blueprint contrast. Now turn on the actual English subtitles, or pull up a transcript of the clip. Compare it carefully against what you originally wrote. Look for the exact spots where your handwritten guess doesn't match the real words on screen. Did the speaker actually say out of, but it sounded to you like oughta? Did they say should have gone, but it sounded more like shoulda gone? Circle each of these specific collision points with a brightly colored pen. These circled spots are essentially your own personal listening blind spots. Step 3 is the reverse audio overlap. Rewind the clip back to the very beginning. This time, leave the subtitles turned on and keep your eyes focused directly on those circled blind spots you just identified. Press play and consciously force your ears to link the correctly written textbook words to the messy, blended sounds actually coming out of your speaker. Repeat this exact loop about 5 times in a row. By forcing your brain to visually see the correct text while simultaneously hearing the connected speech shortcut out loud, you build a genuinely strong mental bridge between the two. Over time, your subconscious mind starts automatically decoding that specific sound shortcut the next time it shows up in a real, live conversation, without you needing to consciously think about it at all. Native English speakers were never trying to make your life difficult by speaking quickly. They blend their words together, because it's simply the natural, efficient, rhythmic way the human mouth interacts with spoken English over time. So stop blaming your vocabulary, and stop letting the apparent speed of conversations frustrate you. Shift your focus away from individual, isolated words, and toward these natural sound blocks instead. Accept that these connected shortcuts are simply part of how English actually works, and actively train your ears to decode them, one small block at a time. So here's your action step for tonight. Watch an interview, or any video of a native speaker talking in a relaxed, casual way. Listen closely for just 1 full minute. Try to catch at least one example of a compressed phrase, something like gonna, wanna, gotta, or wadya. Write down exactly how that phrase sounded to you, in whatever way makes sense, and start genuinely decoding real, spoken English, one blended phrase at a time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.